Listen, child. There are wounds the eyes cannot see, wounds that stretch longer than shadows at dusk. And in the village of Ngombai, where the river hums old songs and the baobabs hold their breath, there lived a girl who carried such a wound. Her name was Adetunde, but the children called her Giraffe. They said her neck was too long, that it reached for the heavens like a foolish stalk of millet. They whispered that she was cursed, that the ancestors had stretched her thin for some hidden crime. Even the elders clicked their tongues when she passed, as if her very shadow carried bad omens. But Adetunde, she did not bend. She walked with her chin high, her spine straight, though her heart was heavy as a rain-laden cloud. Every morning, she fetched water from the river, her calabash balanced on her head, her neck long and graceful, holding up the weight like a bridge between earth and sky. The village girls laughed, their voices sharp as broken shells. Look, the giraffe thinks she's beautiful. Yet Adetunde only smiled a quiet, knowing smile, for she had a secret. At night, when the moon hung low like a silver coin, she would sit beneath the oldest baobab, the one with roots like twisted serpents, and listen. The wind carried voices soft as spider silk, voices that did not mock but sang. Adetunde, child of the sky, you are not what they see. Then one evening as the village slept, the river spoke. Its waters, black as polished obsidian, rippled without wind. A figure emerged, tall, draped in mist, with eyes that held the glow of dying embers. "Why do you weep, little one?" the spirit asked, its voice like rustling reeds. Adetunde touched her neck, her fingers tracing the curve of her shame. "They say I am too much and not enough." The spirit smiled, revealing teeth like crescent moons. "What if I told you, this neck of yours is not a curse but a key?" And with those words, the first star fell from the sky. "Child, listen. Not all scars are worn on the skin. Some are carried in the silence between heartbeats." Adetunde's mother, Ayaba, had been the first to cradle her long neck as a babe, not with shame, but with trembling hands. "She is marked," the midwife had whispered, her voice thick with fear. "The ancestors have stretched her for a purpose." But purpose is a heavy thing for a child to bear. Ayaba, before the fever took her, would press her lips to Adetunde's forehead and murmur, "Your neck is not a burden, my moon. It is a ladder. One day you will climb." Then she would tie beads around Adetunde's throat, blue as the evening sky, to shield her from cruel tongues. But beads cannot stop loneliness. Adetunde's father, once a proud fisherman, now sat hollow-eyed by the river, his nets empty. The village said his luck had dried up the day his daughter was born. "A man whose child is touched by spirits is a man whose life is no longer his own," they muttered. And so Adetunde learned to make herself small. She hunched her shoulders, curled her spine, anything to hide the length the gods had given her. But at night, when the fireflies blinked like distant stars, she would stretch her neck toward the heavens and imagine, "What if the wind carried my name beyond this village?" Then came the day of the drought. The river shrank to a whisper. The earth cracked like an old woman's palms. The village headman called for the ajaji, the wandering priest, to divine the cause. The priest, draped in crow feathers, circled the villagers, his gourd rattling like bones. Then he stopped before Adetunde. His nostrils flared. "This one," he hissed. "Her neck has offended the rain spirits. It reaches too greedily for the clouds." A murmur slithered through the crowd. Adetunde's father fell to his knees. "Take her," he begged the priest. "Break the curse." And as the villagers' eyes hardened into stones, Adetunde did the unthinkable. She ran, not toward the safety of the forest, but to the sacred baobab, where the wind still remembered her mother's voice. "Hear me, little one. When the soul flees, It does not always choose the safest path, but the truest one. Adetunde's bare feet tore against thorns as she ran, her breath ragged as torn cloth. Behind her, the priest's chants rose like smoke, curling into the night sky. The villagers' torches flickered like angry spirits, their voices calling her name, not in love, but in hunger. Hunger for sacrifice. She reached the Baobab, its trunk wide as 10 men, its branches cradling the stars. Pressing her forehead to its bark, she wept. "Why did you make me like this?" The tree sighed. A single leaf drifted down, brushing her cheek. Then, crack! A fissure split the trunk, revealing a hollow darker than a moonless night. From the shadows, 2 ember-bright eyes blinked. "You asked the wrong question, sky child." The voice was neither old nor young, but ancient as the first river. A figure emerged, tall, slender, skin like polished ebony, with a neck longer than Adetunde's own. "The spirits did not stretch you to shame you," the being whispered. "They shaped you to hold what others cannot." Adetunde's pulse drummed in her throat. "Hold what?" The being lifted a hand toward the parched earth. "The rain." And then Adetunde understood. Her neck was no accident. It was a vessel, a bridge between the thirsting earth and the weeping sky. The priest had lied. The drought wasn't her fault. She was the cure. But wisdom comes with a price. As the being faded back into the tree, it left one last whisper. "To call the rain, you must stand before your people unbroken." Adetunde turned. The torches were closer now. She could hear her father's voice, cracked with grief. "Adetunde, come back." She closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she straightened her spine, lifted her chin, let her neck rise like a sacred pillar toward the stars. And then, she walked toward the flames. "Little firefly, listen close. Courage tastes like iron on the tongue." Adetunde stepped into the circle of torchlight, her bare feet pressing into dust that had forgotten the kiss of rain. The villagers gasped. The priest's rattle froze mid-shake. Her father's hands trembled where they clutched the rope meant to bind her. "Daughter." His voice broke like dry twigs. She touched his wrist, feeling the pulse beneath his skin, frantic as a trapped bird. "The drought is not my curse to bear," she said, loud enough for the wind to carry. "It is my calling to end it." Laughter erupted like poison from the crowd. "Look at her," a woman shrieked. "The giraffe thinks she's a rainmaker now." The priest's lips curled. He raised his gourd, shaking it at the sky. "The gods demand humility, not pride. Bow your head, cursed one." Adetunde felt the old shame rise like bile. Her muscles remembered how to fold, how to make small. But then, a whisper from the Baobab grove. "Remember." She lifted her chin higher. The priest lunged, grabbing her by the throat. "I'll break this unnatural neck myself." The moment his fingers touched her beads, her mother's last gift, the sky growled. Not with thunder, with voices. 1,000 ancestral whispers swirled through the suddenly icy air. The priest stumbled back as blue light erupted from Adetunde's beads, crawling up her throat like liquid moonlight. Her shadow stretched long across the earth, impossibly tall, her neck elongating further until her head seemed to brush the belly of the clouds. The villagers fell to their knees. "She's not cursed." Her father breathed. "She's chosen." Adetunde opened her mouth to speak, and the first raindrop fell, right onto the priest's forehead. Will the village accept their savior? What price must Adetunde pay to keep the rains? The conclusion comes with dawn. "Come, child, let me tell you how the world changes." The raindrop that struck the priest's forehead burned like a star. He screamed, clawing at his face as the mark spread. A blue spiral, glowing like the veins of lightning. The villagers watched, trembling, as Adetunde stood transfixed, her neck shimmering with the same celestial light. Then the sky split open. Rain fell not in drops, but in ropes, thick as baobab roots, cool as a mother's tears. It washed over the cracked earth, filled the empty riverbed, soaked through the villagers' ragged clothes. But strangest of all, it curved around Adetunde. The water arched like a bow before her, refusing to touch her skin. The priest, now on his knees, gaped. She doesn't just call the rain, she commands it. Adetunde raised her hands, not in triumph, but in offering. This gift was never mine, she whispered. It was yours. You only had to stop seeing my neck as a curse and start seeing it as what connects heaven to earth. One by one, the villagers approached. The woman who'd mocked her touched Adetunde's foot. Forgive me. The children who'd thrown stones now placed offerings of mango and honey at her feet. Her father, weeping, pressed his forehead to her long, graceful neck, finally understanding it was the bridge that had saved them all. When morning came, the priest was gone. Some say he wandered into the desert, still scrubbing at his glowing mark. But Adetunde? She remained, not as a goddess, not as a queen, but as the girl who carried the sky on her neck and taught her people to look up. The tree that bends with the wind learns to dance with the storm. Did this story touch your spirit? Speak your truth in the comments. Turn on notifications so you never miss our sacred tales. Subscribe for more wisdom from the ancestors.